What's up, team? How we doing? It is Tuesday afternoon, which means I'm here to do some live streaming. So I'm just finishing getting set up here, pretty much set up here. Just gotta shut down a few things. And we're gonna work on some Gymnasium goodness. So let me shut down all the extra things I got going on here and share out my desktop. Oh, I forgot to get water before my stream. That's right. Hopefully I won't lose my voice too early today. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mike. I'm technical director for Gymnasium, thegymnasium.com. We offer some fantastic free online training on design development, copywriting, content creation, web technologies, all the good stuff that you want to learn. We got it. It's free. It's self-paced. It's video-based. You can enroll in these courses and finish them over your coffee break for free. It's free. Act now. Well, everything is still free. So I was racing today to try to set up to work on some interesting feature development for our new version of Gymnasium, which I have open on another screen that you can't see, which is no help. Let's pull this over here. So, well, let me go through the spiel. I think I kind of did already. Gymnasium is free courses. You should come here and take some of our free courses because they're free and they're great. We're working on building a new version of Gymnasium over here. It currently lives on gymnasium.dev. It is also open source available on GitHub if you want to go and play around with it. It's a Gatsby site. You will need some additional bits to work on it. Namely, you'll need to create an account with TakeShape and get some API keys set up. But for the most part, hopefully, if you really wanted to, you could play around with this and get going on your own. I think, no, yeah, I should update this README at some point too. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway. What I'm going to work on today is hopefully improving the strategy and implementation behind sharing Open Graph content for Gymnasium. And what exactly is Open Graph content? Well, if you have ever shared a link from any website, basically to Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, Slack, probably Discord, and a few others, you've seen Open Graph in action. What it does is it shows it basically creates a structure by which you can have a nice preview of the content on a given page. So, for example, if I pasted a link to a YouTube video into my Twitter, Twitter would know that that's a YouTube link by going and looking at the URL I posted. It goes and grabs some metadata. It knows how to format it and present it to you in a way that's interesting and more rich than just the URL, let's say. So we can look at the Open Graph protocol because it is available at opengraphprotocol.org. There's a lot here. You can see some of the stuff in here is a little bit hard to sift through. This is a little heavy if you're not sure what you're looking at. The good news is there's also testers for this, and there are samples all over the place. So we've got lots of good ways to do this. So that one of these is Open Graph Check. If you want to look at Open Graph Check, it'll go and check any URL you upload or you pass to it. So if I went to, well, we'll compare thegymnasium.com. This is our current site. Oops. Okay, it needs the fully formatted. If we pull up here, we have a URL, a title, an image, and a description. You can see that this image comes from a specific place, which is really nice. In the description we have here, there's lots of other good stuff we could put into there, which we probably should give another look at some point, and in part that's what we'll be doing today. By contrast, we can also do this for the new site. And look at these two things side by side and see what we're pulling up. Aha, look at that, that's a problem. There's no Open Graph stuff shared on this page right now, which we need to fix. And so this is one of those things that's, to call it a chore is unfair because this is important. This Open Graph implementation has a lot to do with how your site is shared with the world visually. When other people share links to your site, it helps to give you a better fighting chance of having people actually want to click on those links. And it's also really useful for SEO, for search engine optimization. And you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of this as much as possible to make sure that people, when they're searching for your site on Google or DuckDuckGo or wherever it may be, your search results come back in a way that is as nice as possible. Now, in thinking about it, it's possible we do have some open graph stuff on gymnasium.dev. I have this set up to not be indexed on search engines right now because it's just a test site. It's not fully functional. We don't want people to end up there, so I have this blocked. I don't think that would stop this checker. My guess is that there's actually no implementation done there. So anyway, we're going to look at how that works. I'm going to dive right into the implementation. We'll probably start on that home page because it's nice and easy, but I'm also interested, hopefully today, in getting to the Open Graph implementation of pages like this, which is has a lot of metadata about the course. And actually, it looks like there's some formatting that can be done here, maybe some font size increases and so on. But we haven't paid much attention to those pages since we first created them. And essentially what I want to do is go in and audit every page that we have already created to make sure that we have some Open Graph stuff there so that even things like, say, our empty about page has something interesting on it. And so we've got to get that all done. So that's why I'm here today. This is the first step to create a pattern by which we can start to do this for the rest of our pages. And hopefully I can collaborate on this with my teammates to improve on what's there. And also maybe look at the future and see what sort of aspirationally we want to do to make this stuff better. I've seen a lot of interesting open graphery going around. I was sharing some of it with the peeps on my team today, including Justin, who is on the stream in the chat from far and wide. So we're going to talk about this let me zoom in here so you can see that a little better. I'm going to come into VS Code and also zoom in. That may be a step too big for me. Okay, so let's look at this. So as it works out, it's actually not too bad to get this kind of implementation done in Gatsby. If I didn't mention before today, at least, our site is implemented with Gatsby. So Gymnasium, the front end will be done via static site generator, and the I suppose it's unfair to call it the front end. The marketing part of it is static site generator. The learning side of it is done by way of OpenEdX. Right now we're just looking at the marketing side of it, and we're working on implementing these guys in a way that's more SEO friendly, in particular because with maybe one or two exceptions, almost none of the pages that are generated by the learning side of things are search indexed. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Let's take a look at this stuff. So there's a couple of things to look at here. We have in our components list, this will become important. Well, we have a few things that will become important. So this layout.js we'll look at. We have this SEO, which sounds like it should be important, so it's probably going to be necessary or something we're looking at today. Drop these side by side, and then we're going to look at, for the sake of it, we'll start with the home page because it's probably the most simple place to come in. So we'll pull that up here, and we'll look at the implementation. We'll break it down. Being as familiar with this as I am, I have some guess as to what's going on here and what we could be doing better. So let's look at it. All right, this is the home page. Once again, this home page has a few sections on it, which we've seen lots before. We have a hero section, we have a how it works section, featured courses, we have find work, we have as seen in. All of these guys exist on the page, which is nice. What we're going to do, though, what we want to figure out is what's generating the metadata on this page. So I'm actually going to, well, I'm going to run this locally because this will start to confuse me very quickly if I keep looking at that site. So I'm going to close this one, which is what's visible on the public web. I'm going to close this one, which is our existing site. Ooh, I'm going to zap that zoom back down to 100 from wherever it was. And I'm going to inspect this page by right-clicking and going to inspect. I'm going to go to the head. And in the head here, we're going to look for some of the Open Graph metadata goodness that hopefully we will be finding, or we should be finding in here one day. So we'll see lots of these emotion tags. We can see in here we have a title, description, and type, and some Twitter stuff. We have a very blank-looking summary. We have a Twitter creator, which that probably shouldn't say me. But I bet that comes from some of the content. So let's look at a few things here. Okay, delete this. We're going to look at all site build metadata. I guess that might have changed its name. Nodes, yeah, no, yeah. So the site metadata is I'll show you where this is populated. I'm not exactly sure what the query is offhand for it. Inside of the, okay, let me step back. I'm getting too deep into this implementation to begin with. We have our home page here. The home page is constructed by dropping in a bunch of content on the page, which is really everything we see here is visual content. Oh, I'm getting a call. We'll decline that. All of this content is what we see visually on the page. This SEO component does some magic, and like I mentioned before, we're probably going to want to take a look at that, which we import from our components directory, which is good. So let's look at what the SEO component does. It executes a static query to grab a bunch of stuff. Let me get rid of that so we can see a little better here. And it returns the results of this query inside of a helmet component. Helmet is React Helmet, which is a component that can be used to dynamically add content to the head part of the site. Helmet is actually an open source library, I think, made by the NFL, which is why it's called Helmet. There's developers at the NFL. It's not like, I don't know, Peyton Manning is sitting at a computer writing software. That's a football guy. We all know. So I think we can actually clean up this component a little bit. We will get to that. But just for the sake of explanation here, let's put them side by side and see what's actually happening. We have our home page. We have this SEO tag, and right now it is, oops, let's see. Looks like something funny is happening with my stream. Give me just a minute to fix. Technology. Okay, we can do this. It's very funny how this stuff all works. Let's see. Gotta rename the title of this feed. Somehow we hung on to last week's stream name. Okay. Go live notification. Let's work on Gymnasium together. Today, open graph sharing for the new site. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that redid it. There's a weird tool chain I use to get everything running, and it seems like it doesn't always speak well. All right. So, where was I? Let's get back into the code editor. This is a pretty basic example. So we render this SEO component here, and into that SEO component we pass a title, which is this guy. And if I highlight the title, close that. If I highlight the title, we can see that that is passed into a couple of places here. This open graph title, which I think we just saw on the page. This title property, which is what populates the tab in the browser. So that's this text here, home, excuse me. And that may be the only two places where that's used. So, what I'm curious about then, we're going to take a look at a couple of things. So let's look at want to compare this OG title. I want to look for this on gymnasium.dev and see if it's actually here. My guess is that this open graph check tool isn't working on this site right now for whatever reason. Issues detected. Oh no. Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. OG title. So this is here, but it isn't being picked up by that open graph protocol. No, sorry, open graph check for gymnasium.dev. Pourquoi? I'm not sure. Let's see if we can try another tool here. There are a variety of tools to use for testing open graph stuff. I think LinkedIn or Twitter maybe provides one of them. Yeah, okay. OG title has no content in it? This, again, could be one of those cases where this is being read by this particular tool before the page is fully hydrated. Certainly Google has some tools for this as well, which we can probably look for. No open graph tags detected. What? Okay. Google Open Graph Checker. It's going to be part of this Search Console. Huh. Oh, there's a nice Open Graph Preview tool. That's cool. Yeah, let's try that. I like that. Oh, there's the one I was thinking of. It's Facebook that has the debugger. I swear there was one for LinkedIn as well. So this is exactly what we are interested in, is what this will... Yes, please fetch new information. Okay. That's great. So we can see when this page loads, we get the URL. It has a canonical URL of that same location with the www prepended to it. When we share it, the link preview just says that. So it really isn't picking up open graph stuff for this. That's interesting. Well, hey, look, that's the whole purpose of today's stream, is to figure out why that stuff is happening and do a better job of it. So let's do some exploration here. It doesn't seem to be the implementation of this particular thing, but I know for a fact that there are some plugins for SEO. Let's take a look at this. Well, that looks promising. This is probably pretty similar to the way Helmet implements their stuff. Titles don't appear when opening the background while using Gatsby plugin offline. Oh, you know what? Let's try that defer equals false. Well, all right. I also want to show one more thing before I get too deep into that. In our layout component as well, we should have a fallback SEO component, which we aren't currently rendering from the looks of it. So what that will do is on every page where we use this layout, we should put an SEO component in here, something like this, which will at the very least guarantee that we have the basics, the bare minimum from an SEO standpoint, which is like author, metadata, description, stuff like that. Anything that overrides this on subsequent pages will, or subsequent pages, any children of this that implement SEO that pass in something more will take precedent. Precedent? Whatever it may be. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. I knew that needed to be done. Also, for the sake of it, I'm going to re-implement this static query because there's a hooks implementation that is a little bit nicer now, and I think there's a newer implementation of Helmet that will make this syntax a lot less verbose. Oh, I don't know if we have that plugin added. That's important too. Okay, it is there. And it's referenced in the config, which is good. And we're going to put this defer equals false into the layout one, which should help with offline. Okay, so first things first, let's focus on the SEO component for now. And we're going to rewrite this static query with Gatsby's use static query. Yes, we should be able to do that. Okay, so we're going to grab use static query from the Gatsby library. And we're going to say, so let's look at this implementation. Const data equals use static query. And then in here, we put our GraphQL decorator, not with a Q, with a GraphQL, 2 ticks. And then we drop our query in here, and in there, we're going to do this. And we're going to get rid of this because we will no longer need that in a moment. Drop it in here. There's our next query. Yeah, come on. I think everything's there. Okay. And we're going to say we can move this up. So we're just going to basically move everything out of this static query tag, which just makes it a little bit easier to read. And we can get rid of this stuff here. Hey, someone subscribed. I think that's Drew. What's up, Drew? All right, we're going to drop this in here. Boy, something's really unhappy here because this should be formatting. Oh. Working on lining all this up. Okay, that should be there. My God, sorry about this. There we go. That's a lot happier. Okay, now we don't need this static query. We don't need this static query bit, and this has just become one level less annoying to read through. Now we're going to look at helmet's implementation, and I think they've redone this meta a bit. So let me quickly jump in there and read through that and explain what the difference is. So in React Helmet, version 6 of Helmet, I believe added a new implementation. So that's the one that now requires the import of Helmet to look like that, which we are using. Before you could just import Helmet like this, but that no longer works. So in this version, we can just drop the tags that we want underneath the helmet tag. So there's no need for the mess we kind of create here with all of this, which is nice. So we can say meta and then OG title, all that other stuff. So what that will look like is more like this: meta property equals content equals, right? So let's simplify that. Oops, we're gonna do that. And, okay. There's a lot going on here, but we can zoom out a little bit and make this a little easier on ourselves. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna do a close helmet here. And then in here, we're gonna say meta name equals description and content equals meta description. So what that is doing, let's get back to this, that is creating a tag that looks like this, OG description. You probably have an OG description as well. This is just a description tag for non-SEO or for SEO purposes, but not sharing purposes. So we're just going to go through these one at a time, and we will recreate these. So that's our title. Now we have OG title, and so this should be collapsing in a way that's a lot easier to read. So that's our OG title. We're going to put OG description here. Meta name equals OG description. And then content equals meta description. That's great. Meta name equals OG type. Content equals website. Meta name equals Twitter card. Content equals summary. That's not good. We're gonna do better than that. That's why that just says summary. We will add something for that in a bit. Meta name equals Twitter creator, and then content equals, and this is where this comes from. So data site metadata author, which comes in the config. Let's pull this over here. So it has my name right now, and that's not ideal. Author should be Equint Gymnasium. I think that's our Twitter tag these days. And so this can now be data.site metadata.author. Now, there are some important things that happen here, which I'll explain in a moment. So we've just gotten rid of all of this stuff. Not really gotten rid of, but we've simplified. And what this is saying here is if there's keywords provided, we join them up into a big long string, which we can do here. So we'll say keywords.length greater than 0, and remember this. This is going to be meta name equals keywords, and content equals keywords.join. So that's making a comma separated list of keywords, and if there are no keywords, yeah, we'll just let that be. Okay. You happy now? What did I forget here? I don't think I forgot anything. Doesn't look like I forgot anything. Go, we'll leave this .concat meta there just in case we pass some meta into this SEO. I don't think we will anywhere, honestly. No, okay, great. We're gonna just rip that out of there. We don't need to use that. We don't need to use this. And we're gonna grab children. And in here, we're going to render children. So what that will do is it'll allow us to pass in. So let's go back to the React helmet stuff. What this says here is nested or ladder components will override duplicate changes. So if later on we have a child component with a helmet that has a title, that title takes over. Similarly for the description. And so that also means that if I add another description down here, it will override this description, for example. So that's great. That's great. Okay. We've got our description here. Title, title, title. Okay, all that stuff is now included. This title template is basically what will show up on the page tab after the pipe. So it says pipe gymnasium here because we provided data site metadata title is this guy here. Title, we have a description, we have an author. This should say, so what was the one I wanted to fill in before? Twitter card, content summary. Here we're going to put a better description of what Gymnasium is. All of these pages are not Gymnasium front end. So we're going to grab, from here, we'll start with that. That might get updated as we go on. And the nice thing is, this is presumably quite easy to update from just a commit, or if we want to put it inside of our CMS, we could do that as well, which we probably will at some point. I'm not sure why this is complaining. It's saying expected closing tag to match indentation of open. Oh. Did I do that wrong? Yes, I did. Okay. I don't know why prettier isn't working as well as it should be. Okay. Meta and keywords. Are we using keywords? Well, we could be. We could also be using meta in the future. So now, what have I done? Well, importantly, I made the syntax of this a lot easier to read, which is one, but I also added this children bit, which on pages where I want to include additional SEO will be very useful. So, oh right, and I was in the middle of figuring out what to put for the summary here. I'm not sure what that Twitter card bit is, so let's look at that. Oops, Twitter card. So we're going to do open graph Twitter card. The card type, which will be one of summary, large image, app, or player. And so let's look at what those each mean. Only one card type per page is supported. If more than one exists, the last one will be used. It's funny how this doesn't do a great job of describing what that all means. Let's try summary large image because that sounds probably the most apt for our purposes. So our default will be summary large image. And now we can go back to that index page. Not wanted. Oh my gosh, what did I just do? Please. I'm killing myself here. Summary, large image. Great, save. Okay, now if I go back to my index page here, where this guy pulls in an SEO, we have a title of home, and if I wanted to, here I could now do more SEO enablement by saying meta type equals Twitter : oh, what other things can we put in here? Site, username for the website, used in the card footer, Twitter site. And this could be content equals something like that. And so because this is now part of our new implementation, this would be perfectly legitimate to do. As it works out, I think we kind of just want that on all of our SEO, so maybe not the best example, but for sake of illustration, that's reasonable there. So we're going to add that here. I'll try and keep these in alphabetical order. We'll pull up our config on the right-hand side here. Okay, and we're going to add that here. And then this will be data.site metadata. Data.site metadata.site. Confusing. We can do a better job of that. Okay, so that's great. And now we can get rid of all of these data.sites in the way. All right. Is this still running? I don't recall. Yes, it is. So in the background, it's going and rebuilding that stuff, which is nice. We no longer need meta there. We're here. Okay, let's go and take a look at it now. So if I come back and I pull this guy up, this is not my local version, so I'm going to close it. On my, details query is not defined. Oops, no, that's an old error. Alrighty, So in our head now, we should have a little bit more. So we can see home gymnasium, that's what we expected to be there. Bunch of icon stuff, which comes from Gatsby's lovely setup. Some CSS, and now there's a lot more here. We have a description, OG description, a title, OG type, Twitter card, Twitter creator, Twitter description, and Twitter title. And these are all, again, in that alphabetical order I just walked through. You can see the ones that say data react helmet equals true are ones which helmet created, so that's kind of nice. And with that, we should then be able to push this up to somewhere where we can test from. But I think we just installed a plugin that should help with that. Hey, let's pin that. Okay. Well, I'm not sure it's working. We don't need bk.com. I don't really know what that is. All right, what are we thinking here? I'm a little bit perplexed. This might just be something that's inherently not super easy to test on localhost. OG test localhost. Oh, but there are other, well, there's not great ways to do that. Hey, let's take a look at Stack Overflow. Using a proxy is the right solution. Okay. So actually, I think what that means is we could do that. No. Okay, that doesn't work. And I'm not going to set up a proxy on stream here. That seems like a waste of time. Right, we don't need to use static query any longer. We have this implementation here. So let's dive into one of these pages and take a look at what we can do for a course about page here. I also noticed that I made some questionable choices in setting up this URL, which we might want to go and correct before we get too much deeper into this, because that's not great. Okay, well, let's look at how we do that. That is going to be in Gatsby node. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to commit these latest changes. So we just did some site metadata there. And this SEO component to the layout, and a more streamlined SEO which supports its children. Okay, great. Now, let's get down to business. So Gatsby node is the place through which we set up all of our courses. And it looks like the implementation of get URL from title is what I want to look at. So that's going to be in URL utils. Actually, let's leave this open. Okay, and we're going to replace, we convert everything to lowercase, remove all of that goodness, and we're going to replace our invalid characters with a hyphen. Hello, cat. Yes. All right, my cat is here to help. Let's add Pepper. We're going to replace, we'll try replacing everything with a hyphen, which I think will actually don't know if that works on spaces here. Let's find out. So we're going to have to stop the process and restart it. I'll see what I have to deal with here. Hi, cat. She's kind, but she demands attention. The binary used for scripts is... You can hear her purring, that's awesome. She's like shriek purring right now. Hi cat, yep. All right, so we're rebooting this in the hopes that we'll have a little nicer URLs, maybe a little human friendlier. Looks like it worked. At least it didn't crash. That's a good sign. Sorry, this takes a second. Is there a phrase for I had to stop the stream because my cat demands attention? Because we're going to need that in a minute here. Let this thing chug along, do its processing. Almost done. I can probably get rid of this post CSS config before long. We got rid of most of the CSS in the project, or I've gotten rid of most of the CSS in the project by now. That was in separate modules files. I actually don't know what my post CSS config did or does at this point. In addition, you know, that we require at least. Okay, so now if I go back to the home page for the site and I click on writing for web and mobile. And I hit learn more. Look at that. Oh, that's super nice. Writing for web and mobile with hyphens and everything. All right, good. Fixed a questionable decision on my part. Now let's take a look at the SEO stuff that's rendered on each of these individual pages. So in Gatsby node, we can see that we're going to load a template for each of these. And that template is specified here, course about template, which is path.resolve, which is source templates course about page.js. Actually pretty well labeled. Templates course about page.js. All right. Oh, and this is actually one of the places where there's a CSS module intact. So we can see there's lots of stuff in here, including a fair bit of Bootstrap, which I might like to get rid of. Though that is not today's focus. We are focused on this here. SEO title is equal to about, and then the course name, which we have here, but there's not a lot else provided here. So ideally what we might want to do here is drop in into the Open Graph tags here some of the content about the description of this course. For example, maybe this about section would be nice, or possibly this learn how to create compelling content. So what we should do is pass some of that stuff in. We know that in our SEO component, we're able to do that with some of the children bits that we just plumbed through. We can also provide a description directly to the SEO component, which we'll go and pluck. So let's start with that. So we're we're going to get a title here, and if we go to the bottom, we should see which metadata we're getting. Course type, title. All right. So we render the title here. We render a card around it. The short description HTML. I actually think we can probably pass that in, because in many cases that'll be formatted well enough. Well, we can test that. That's easy enough to do, right? So I can, in my SEO, do a description equals that. And what that'll do, man, where is my format? Format on save is there, but it does not seem to know about prettier. That's annoying. Okay. Great. So now we can come back onto that page and look into this again, and we should see now a bunch of different descriptions passed through at the very bottom. Now we have a description, an open graph description, and a Twitter description. It is passed in as HTML. I don't know how that'll play, but we can test that out, right? That's what I was just saying. So oh, we should do this too. That's cool. But we're interested in Twitter cards. Oh, look at that. Summary card with large image. Looks like this. That is for sure what we're going to want for most of our tweets. Look at this beautiful sample code being piped through here. Oops. Something broke there. Is this open source? Can we provide feedback on this? Or maybe not. That's okay. I can probably tweet at them to fix that. So this should have a Twitter card, which we have set, a Twitter site, which should be New York Times. Okay. So the Twitter site, which we set in this SEO, should not be site metadata.site, which is, come on. This should actually be site metadata.author again. And we can override this creator thing if we have an article published by some other creator on the site. It should have a title, which we are populating. It should have a description and a metadata that's an image. And look at this stuff. Twitter image, a URL to a unique image representing the content of the page. You should not use a generic image such as your website logo, author photo, or other image that spans multiple pages. Images for this card support an aspect ratio of 2:1 with minimum dimensions of 300 by 157 or a maximum of 496 pixels square. Images must be less than 5 megs in size for formatted supported. Only the first frame of an animated GIF will be used. SVG is not supported. Oh, and then there's an image alt. That's cool. Text description of the image conveying essential nature of an image to users who are visually impaired. Okay, that's great. So what that's saying is, where are we? Oh, No cat, please. What that's saying is for this page, for example, we should provide a unique image for this page that Twitter can share out. And actually, this is a unique image and it's square. That might work well. And actually for this particular page, a summary card might do us better. Hey, nope, summary card, not with large image. There we go. Does that look identical to anyone else? What's the difference here? Oof, oof. Okay. Tweet below shows a summary card, photo and text. Below the tweet, below the text of the tweet. These, I think these are the same, this same tweet though, right? Cool by me. So we can figure that out. So, gotta move my keyboard around my cat. It's taking up the whole desk. So what we're going to do on that course about page in our SEO is we're going to pass in a meta type equals Twitter card, and then content equals summary. So this is saying killed me. Just leave myself a little note here. The link to this. Great. And now we need to, so this needs the Twitter site, the Twitter username the card should be attributed to, which we have set, the title, which we set here, the description, which is set, we need a Twitter image. And so we don't address any image stuff in here. And that's okay. We'll start with this. We might find a better way to do this. And here's where we're going to pass the URL for the image that we use here, the cover image. And now it wants that on separate lines. Okay, so now this page should have an image associated with it, which once again we can pull up here. Dive into the header, get all the way to the bottom. And now we have no image there, no image at all. Why is that? Okay. Here's our SEO. That's the root SEO. We're looking now for this secondary one. Children has 2 meta tags, and both of those should be rendered, right? Because we're on the course about page. We've passed in these 2. Okay, what's going on there? Let's try a refresh of the page, see if that helps. No, I do not see Twitter card or Twitter image. Oops, not a bookmark. Get out of here. Remove. So for whatever reason, this doesn't seem to be rendering children here as I requested. Let's see. That might be in the details of helmet here. This is server-side stuff. Yeah, not really sure. So, how do we deal with this? First, let's make sure we're actually getting children here. So we're just going to put a little log in here. Oops. Let's see what comes out on the other end. I don't expect there to be any surprises there, but there may be. Okay. Lovely. I think this needs to be a fully qualified. Oh, that's funny. Card summary, yeah, okay, so that's what we expect to see there. And then this one has Twitter image and then a full image URL. Okay. But for whatever reason, passing those in here is not doing what we wanted to, which I'm uncertain about. This says return helmet with those attributes with these children, which is how this guy works, right? Okay, not entirely sure what I'm missing here, but let's make double sure we understand how those meta things need to be rendered. Yeah. Okay, so theoretically, if I'm rendering these metas here, they should work. But they're just not coming through. Does that work? I forget. No, JavaScript probably won't like that, huh? Test content equals 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that it should come after, or sorry, before that test, right? Very weird. So it's just ignoring those. Will that work? I don't feel like I should need to do that. No, it is just unhappy with the way I'm passing those through. Okay, well let's try. Wait. All right, let's try it. I just can't imagine we need to do that. That seems, I've never had to do that before, let's put it that way. If that doesn't work, we're gonna go and look at how Helmet's implementation works. I don't think it worked, by the way. So what we're looking for is why Helmet won't accept a child metadata tag pushed into it. Alright, this may just be a misunderstanding here. I want to see if, well, that should work. It is doing quite a bit with children props being passed in. All right, let's look at some issues here. Weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm missing here. It's very odd. So there's no reason that this children prop well, from what I can see, the reason that this children prop shouldn't be able to be passed as just a object here, really. And we verified that that's coming through with the values we'd expect as an array. And in React, it should be perfectly valid to pass an array of components, children, whatever those are in there, and have that work. Really, the next step is probably to go into this here and find a React helmet way down in there and work through that. Damn. I don't know why that's not working. Tell you what, let's try one other thing. If I do a yarn build, that'll populate a build directory with all of the content from our site, and we can go and inspect. We can serve then the site and go and inspect what happens from a production build, which is definitely different from a development build. That may be the key here. It looks like I probably don't need this here either because it's duplicated down here, but we'll let that be. I suppose I should also make sure I have the right version of React Helmet. Yeah, 6.10. This definitely takes a while because it's going and doing some real optimization work. I don't think it gets sent into public. It gets sent, I believe, into a build directory. So we'll give that a minute to do its thing. All right, while we're waiting for this, what are you guys working on? Anyone up to anything interesting today? Looks like there's actually quite a few people here. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're at 0% of 18 files. bulk repo creation. Andrea is up to some goodness. There we go. Okay, bunch of files created. And I think we can do yarn serve. And that'll serve up a production version of the site, which is different from that hot swappable the dev version of the page that I was just working with. So we're going to come into writing for web and mobile with Stephanie here, and hopefully no luck, huh? Okay. Yeah. We should have summary in there somewhere. It is not. Okay, well, shoot. All right, I'm going to stop the stream here so I can go and dig in some of the docs and get into some deeper debuggery here. Maybe also have a discussion with the folks on the React Helmet component, see what I'm missing. Yeah, and I'll be back on stream next week, and we can work through whatever's the hotness then. I may do some more of this Open Graph sharing, because I have some interesting ideas for what we could do for making a better Open Graph image for this kind of stuff, and just as well, we have other pages to generate Open Graph content for. So anyway, for now, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys being here. For those of you who are here for the first time, thanks for participating. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed it. I will be back this time next week, about 1:30 to 3 Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whichever it is, and we'll do it again. Between here and there, if you have questions for me, you can find me on Twitter at IrreverentMike, and if you want to try one of our courses on Gymnasium, they're always free and always self-paced, so give it a go. Until then, see you guys.